I was going to make a different Tim Pool video instead of this one, until I saw this video. And I have to say, for such a nuanced take, it's surprising how much misinformation was in it. Here I thought that Nuance would squarely care about facts, but I guess that's not the case. So for today, since Tim graced us with such a garbage video, this video will be dedicated to rebuff him on the Ahmaud Arbery case. Let's start right off the bat with the first one.
A string of robberies in the neighborhood. Gun gets stolen. Police go door to door saying, "This is the guy," with an image of him.
This is half true. The way Tim states it makes it look like they were looking for Ahmaud because of said robberies. They weren't. They were looking for him because they wanted to give him a trespass warning.
Right. And not speculation, but was that your intent if you encountered this young black male?
Yes, to find out who he is, identify him, why he was coming up there late at night, and then ultimately it's Mr. English's decision if he wanted him trespassed or not.
Not only that, but the stolen gun or the crime isn't related to whether the McMichaels themselves could perform a citizen's arrest. Just because a neighborhood experiences crime does not allow you to perform an arrest on another person solely for that reason, especially the stolen gun, as Travis McMichael himself believes that it wasn't Ahmaud who stole it, as he even admits it.
All right, so on January 1st, he says he's sorry about your gun being stolen out of your car. Is that right?
Yes, that's what he wrote.
All right, and then you indicated that you had a pretty good feeling about who stole it.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found out where he lived. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you've been watching him for several days.
Yes.
That was not Mr. Arbery.
No, that was the truck I was telling you about.
Okay. And you then indicated that this may be the same individual who's been causing trouble in the neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But that's not Mr. Arbery.
No, ma'am.
As said before, it's about shifting the blame from the McMichaels. They were looking out for their neighborhood. There was a gun stolen. There were robberies. And maybe it's this guy that we see running down the street. Maybe it's him. On to the next bit.
The prosecutor said that makes him a felony burglary suspect.
I don't know where exactly he's getting this info because the current prosecutor would never make this statement. I can only assume that he's referencing Barnhill, who currently, like Jackie Johnson, a past prosecutor, is being investigated for prosecutorial misconduct. Besides that, we really can't rely on the statements from Barnhill, as he's also said that they performed a lawful citizen's arrest, except by the trial standards, we know that not to be true. Now, this last bit is an interesting one.
Based on the judge's jury instruction, he said, "I don't know, you figure it out." And so the jury decided to go the other way and say they needed to be witnesses.
Tim's understanding of it comes from his interview with Andrew Bronca. Andrew thinks the judge's instructions are ambiguous on whether the first statement in 17-4-60 applies to the second.
So he decided, well, I'm not going to make that decision.
So he punts.
I'm not going to do my job.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the ambiguous version, both options, give them to the jury, and let them decide. And that's not the job of the jury.
What's unusual about Bronca's interpretation is, according to the McMichaels' own defense, they think not that the judge's instructions were ambiguous, but that the judge's instructions would lead to a directed verdict by the state, and that the judge had just gutted their case.
The way you're contemplating, you are directing a verdict for the state. You are rendering the second sentence in which it describes reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion meaningless. It's in there, presumably for a purpose. It's a different burden than immediate knowledge or presence. And so I would urge the court to reconsider and eliminate this, let the state argue what they're going to argue. We have built this whole case around the probable cause, the second sentence, last phrase, that Travis McMichael and Greg McMichael had on February 23rd for events that happened previously. And you are gutting all of it if you give this particular charge.
I think this is an easy miss if you don't know all of the case law, as the judge does connect the first line to the second, as seen here.
A private citizen's warrantless arrest must occur immediately after the perpetration of the offense, or in the case of felonies, during escape. If the observer fails to make the arrest immediately after the commission of the offense, or during escape in the case of felonies, his power to do so is extinguished.
How does this show that they're connected? Well, this line of reasoning comes from the case State v. DeLegal, which had basically found that you can't make an arrest 2 days after a misdemeanor had been committed in order to prevent a failure of justice. Why does this matter? Well, DeLegal has typically only been applied to misdemeanor cases, so we can see that judge has extended it to apply to felony cases, as an immediate knowledge clause was also extended. We can just figure that out using the judge's instructions. You have to have some level of knowledge to know that the offense had been just committed, as you can't arrest someone for an offense that happened in the past. And that's why the defense thinks the judge's instructions will gut their case, as their entire argument throughout the case hasn't been about attempting to perform an arrest that day. It's because they had no immediate knowledge. Their entire argument has been that they were making an arrest for a crime that happened either months or weeks prior to Ahmaud's death. That's why the case has been gutted, as the entire time they've been telling the jury that their clients weren't performing an arrest for an offense that happened then and there. They were making an arrest for a crime that they believed had happened in the past, which is unlawful. However, what makes Andrews Bronco's take unusual more so is his remark on the pointing of the gun.
It's unknown whether McMichael ever brandished.
Well, it's disputed. The video is very fuzzy at that point, and there's parts where they're obscured by the truck in front, so you can't really see what's happening.
What makes this unusual of all things? Well, this is information that anyone would know by day one of the trial, as in the defendant's own lawyers make the admission to pointing of the firearm. And that wasn't even behind the vehicle.
And yes, at about 20 yards, he raises the weapon because he knows Ahmaud Arbery can be on him, and he's hoping that by raising the weapon, he will de-escalate the situation. Who's going to attack a guy pointing a shotgun? If he wanted to kill him, that was an open shot. He didn't shoot. He didn't shoot his weapon. He was trying to de-escalate the situation.
I don't like to assume bad faith, but for Bronca, I think he might be. Not only because of the pointing of the firearm, but in one of his first videos of the Ahmaud Arbery subject, he brings up information about Ahmaud Arbery's past. Like, this is his first video, as to make him look like a criminal. Any lawyer could take one look at that information, see that it would not be relevant to the case, and be thrown out. And that's exactly what happened. The judge looked at their notice to introduce evidence and threw it out. Bringing ourselves back to the video in question, Ian finishes up Tim's mad rambling with his own piece of misinformation.
Didn't the guy?
Whatever, man.
Wasn't the guy wearing work boots?
Yeah, something like that. Wearing work boots. They said he was jogging. I mean, come on.
Whether Ahmaud was jogging or not really isn't important to the case, as a lot of it's going to stem from whether the McMichaels had knowledge that Ahmaud had committed a crime that day. But that little tidbit added by Ian really goes to show that none of this group actually cares to be nuanced. Because if we actually looked at Ahmaud's autopsy, something that's been out since forever, we can find out that he wasn't wearing work boots, but that he was wearing gray athletic shoes. Rather than look for information to get to the truth of the matter, it's a mad scramble to find and get information that hurts the left. The problem with this approach is that even if you have a strong argument or a fact, it's going to be either dismissed or weakened by the fact that most of the information you've laid out is misinformation. Tim has made multiple references to this case in other videos, with each time him seemingly to becoming more and more psychotic in his videos. Though that could be a trend or a natural progression of his character. It's fun because he's not doing the little wishy-washy thing he does where he backpedals everything he says. That's where he basically messes up, right? He can't, like he always does, create a level of doubt by, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, right? No, he's messed up. At the end of the day, Tim is a bottom feeder when it comes to news, right? He only gets the surface level of knowledge. If said surface is wrong, well, he's going to be wrong, as he's never going to go deeper beyond the surface. Hey guys, end of the video here, and I'd just like to say I'm sorry. I've been playing the game Stellaris, and that game eats up time faster than Civilization. And this video should have came out like a week ago. Anyways, thanks for watching.